Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Bonus show time. Ben is here with us, and we're going to get right into it.
We're sort of revealing, I guess, because this is the Friday bonus show.
Mm-hmm. It's being recorded early.
Ben didn't come in on Friday just to record the bonus show. We're recording this Wednesday for a number of reasons, including Lewis has travel plans. So let's continue.
Big travel plans. I'm going to North Korea. There's this contest, an international contest for renaming of 14 stars and 31 exoplanets. And I had no idea this was happening until they have released the winners. Now, it's not as exciting as it sounds because you can't just choose any name. Somehow there were names already chosen. There's a list that you have to pick from.
Are they better than 462b? Because that's not the best name for a planet.
That's exactly the problem. I think that's what we're, the whole point of this. You can't pick your own names because if you could, there'd be a planet called Ronald Reagan. There'd be a planet called Wiener Poop.
Right,
Gallifrey.
Yeah.
Your viewers will get it.
You just
I don't even know what that means.
That's from Doctor Who. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen Doctor Who ever, a single episode.
Yeah.
I can never come back to your show. No, I'm joking.
You just can't pick any name, unfortunately. But there were, a lot of good names to choose from. One of which was like Copernicus.
Okay.
Something like that. So, an interesting contest, and I guess, astronomy organizations, schools, citizen scientists, all of these people new titles were pre-approved, basically for this list.
What are some other winners?
Let's see here. Chalawan, Cervantes, Helvetios, that's those are some of the winners.
The problem I have with this is you know nothing about where the planet is as a result of the name. Not that you do when you find out that it's called Kepler 462b anyway, but I would love it if we had some way, I'm glad that the names are better than 462b, but it still doesn't communicate very much to me about why this is significant and what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it can, because how many of us even know where to place Utah on the map, right? So a lot of people are not, now I'm thinking about the
Some
beauty
people
pageant.
don't have maps,
right? That is exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
So I guess how are we going to place it in the galactic map, right?
It's still nice, I guess, to have a better name.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Kepler 462b will not fly. Although it sounds really sciencey, right? It does sound kind of cool. So the guidelines for the names: exoplanets must have a pronounceable one-word name that's less than 16 characters in length. They can't be anything offensive. People also shouldn't send in names of pets, living individuals, or anything associated with political, military, or religious activities. Within these guidelines, more than 274 proposed exo-world names were submitted by organizations from 45 different countries. And then a total of 573,242 votes from people in 182 countries ultimately decided all of this.
How did I not hear about this?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's a lot of people participating for us to really not hear anything about this.
I wish we could get that kind of buy-in for like passing background checks or something,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Without any marketing, right? It's
With no marketing.
That many people showed up.
I had no idea, but all these people, 500,000 votes were received without me even hearing about it, saying, yeah, we need better background checks. That would be fantastic news.
Unbelievable.
In a perfect world. But we don't live in a perfect world. And in Flint, Michigan.
Nice segue.
They are learning this.
I heard about this, yeah.
This is crazy. Lead in children's blood has caused Flint, Michigan to declare a state of emergency.
Yeah.
Wow.
This was a report by the Washington Post. Many, including the city's mayor, suspect that a change in the city's main water source in 2014, they switched from the Detroit water system to the Flint River, is to blame. And it's, of course, they're calling it a man-made disaster.
I'll say.
Yeah, and irreversible. They are saying are these what these children have been exposed to.
Every time there's one of these stories, you hear two lines of reasoning. And first, you will hear the small government people say, see,
right,
regulation doesn't work. We should get rid of the organizations that were meant to regulate. And then that seems illogical to me. To me, it seems, no, those organizations need to be empowered to be able to actually do more, you know? And it's hard to explain that to a small government conservative.
There is no explaining that to them because their desire is set on bringing government smaller, but they don't realize this happened now, right? This could have been happening all along, but because of regulation, it did not happen. So we need to study what broke down.
Right.
And it's probably the defunding of their agencies to actually engage in the regulation that caused this. So.
Yeah, it seems totally counterproductive, Lewis, when there's a failure at an agency to say, oh, we should get rid of the agency, as opposed to we should make it so the agency doesn't have as many failures.
Yeah. You can't just let the free market decide. Unregulated capitalism does not work.
What we know is when the free market decides at sugar factories, people die in a mountain of sugar, asphyxiated, as happened a year ago, right? That we have examples of what happens when you reduce regulation.
Yeah, and so we know all about that. The explosions in Texas, it's crazy. So I guess in this is not completely unexpected. In January, the state informed Flint's residents that the city's water carries unlawful amounts of a chlorine byproduct that has links to cancer. The notice also said that Flint's water was safe to drink, but the children, the elderly, and people who have compromised immune systems may be at increased risk. So for months there were protests, petitions, and you know, I guess nothing changed. People who could afford it bought bottled water.
And I know we can't spend too much more time on this, but the background of this, as Lewis says, people who can afford it bought bottled water. Flint, Michigan is a really poor place. And no surprise that yet again, West Virginia, the water disaster they had, poor part of North Carolina, water disaster they had, and now Flint, Michigan. This is always connected to economics.
Absolutely. At the bottom of the economic total poll, we are the most susceptible to failings in regulation, failings in the banking industry. I mean, we get, well, I don't want to use too much colorful language.
Oh, no,
we can
swear on the bonus. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Well, I don't think I could top that, but we get the shit end of the deal all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I guess, these warnings were ignored. FEMA just sent 28,000 liters to a food bank in Flint. And it's just, I feel bad for these people. What can you do?
Yep.
It's unfortunate.
And speaking of the EPA.
Yes. The EPA may have violated the Clean Water Act by spreading what some call social media propaganda. This is incredible. So within the Clean Water Act, there were specific rules about I guess about advertisements and about social media and about, delivering these types of messages. So the EPA, I guess, released these PSAs, or I don't know what you'd want to call them, videos, ads, basically just about having clean water, and it's important to have clean water, certain rivers, whatever. You have a wildlife and game person talking about something. Anyway, this is, according to the laws, propaganda and in violation of the Clean Water Act. And there may be fines. It's just incredible to me that, what is the definition of propaganda? I mean, is this propaganda? If I walk around saying, spreading flyers saying we would all be better off if, there were higher taxes imposed on the rich, is that propaganda? I mean, it's like, it's true, right?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I totally...
You can cough. You're good. The bonus show's very relaxed.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It is dry in here.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, guys. Tell me.
This is a long debate, which is what is news? Because you call yourself news, does that mean that it is news? What is propaganda? If it's fact-checked, is it no longer propaganda, or is propaganda anything that seeks to influence someone? Well, what doesn't seek to influence someone? I don't know that there's a winning battle here to be fought as far as the definition of propaganda.
I guess for me, it's what's the objective truth? If it's something that's factual, then it's not propaganda. I mean, I know there's different definitions and different grades. There's gray propaganda, there's white propaganda. There's all these different definitions of propaganda. But what is the actual truth? And are we using misleading information to persuade someone towards a political action? To me, that's the clearest definition of propaganda.
I don't think it's that clear, though, because Lewis, think about this. You can make a fact-based argument for why supply-side economics does not work at stimulating the economy. There are people, and we see them on Fox News all the time, who make arguments with facts that they believe to be facts anyway, that supply side economics does work. Now, you can say, well, anytime you leave out key information, that's misleading and that's propagandistic. But then you say, how can you possibly include all relevant information? I think it's very problematic to say if it's fact-based, it is or is not propaganda.
See, like part of what's happening here is what Ben was saying, is that the reason that these laws are created, and they're laws that apply to both sides, people that could be saying the opposite thing about water or whatever, you're a governmental body or agency, and is what you're saying going to lead or influencing people to take political action or contact your legislators, or do that type of thing? And
isn't any action political, though? I mean, you would say, hey, it's not political action, it's they want clean water. Well, there's politics wrapped up in that.
Well, what I've noticed, the reason I've noticed that from the right, we have sullied the definition of truth and what is factual. And we've also got into this weird place where we are not able to promote our ideas or something that's factual at the risk of saying that we are being propagandistic, or we're, in my case, we're race baiting. Like I can clearly state that what you said was racist, and all of a sudden now I can't say it because of the counter argument that I'm being race baiting. It's the same
and that's
thing.
been going on for a while, which is if you identify racism,
right,
you were the one pulling the race card, which is crazy.
Exactly, and I think in this case with the EPA, it's very similar. Even though they probably trapped themselves with their own law, it sounds like over time.
Yeah.
But for them not to be able to say that statement for fear of what they said being propagandistic is kind of ludicrous.
And you could argue it's part of these agencies being hamstrung, although in a slightly different way with regard to information as opposed to regulation. Very odd story, Louis.
Yeah, it is. But I think we can all, the three of us here, will objectively say that clean water is good.
Yeah, who could you? Sam Harris actually has written about this idea that all good and bad is all completely relative. And he's written in his book, The Moral Landscape, that no, science can tell us about things that are objectively good and bad. Not everything, but we can get some objective statements about what's good and bad based on the idea of maximizing well-being. If you go too far down this road, you get into a sort of utilitarian trolley type problem of, hey, if I can crash my car into 2 people to avoid killing 4, then that's a good decision. We don't want to go all the way down that road. Excuse me.
Yeah, but in a lot of ways, that last piece is just enough to muddy the waters for us to do nothing. And that's
and
what
say, hey, it's too complicated.
It's too complicated. Let's just keep it simple, and then we do nothing. And then now we can't even tell how good clean water is.
Next thing you know, Lewis can't bring knives on a plane, and then it's a sad state of affairs for everybody.
What kind of world would that be? Not one I want to live in. I'll tell you that. All right, that's it.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.